Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us today. So, Joe Biden's set to leave office in just a few days now. President Trump taking the reins back of power, January 20th, this Monday coming up. It can't come soon enough. But just before Joe Biden's leaving office, the man who's been responsible for investigating his son and the family's crime business, Special Counsel David Weiss, has released a 27-page report going after the Biden family and slamming Joe Biden for giving his son a pardon. But it was David Weiss, Special Counsel David Weiss, who was responsible for investigating the Biden crime family, for laying out the crimes and making a case where this man could have been prosecuted. He waited till the 11th hour to bring charges against Hunter Biden, which are absolutely going nowhere because he's been pardoned by Joe Biden. But the question is, this man comes out here and slams Joe Biden for pardoning his son. Why did David Weiss wait 3.5 years to bring any charges against Hunter Biden when he had the evidence on day one when Joe Biden took office? It's a question we all want to know. Our guest today has put out over a 600-page report on the Hunter Biden crime family, on the Biden crime family, and on the Hunter Biden laptop. His name is Garrett Ziegler, and he's the founder of Marco Polo, a 501c3, and he's the author of the report on the Biden laptop. Garrett, it's great to have you here on the Great America Show. I appreciate you joining us. The last time you were on here, you had the honor and pleasure of speaking with the great Lou Dobbs, and I like to think we're doing a good job here, filling in the big shoes he left behind. I want to start with first the news of the week. The Senate confirmation hearings are underway. On Monday, it was Tuesday. We had Pete Hegseth there. I want to play a clip for the audience on what Hegseth was dealing with the Marxist Dems, and then we'll go a little bit further in.
But the question I have for you on this is, will you put your money where your mouth is and agree that when you leave this job, you will not work for the defense industry for 10 years?
Senator, it's not even a question I've thought about because it's not
one right now.
It's not one. My motivation for this job.
I understand
has never
that. I
been
just
about
need
what
a
could
yes or no
conceivably
here.
come next.
Time is short. I just need a yes or no.
I would consult with the president about what the policy should be at the Defense Department.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
So, Garrett, that was Pocahontas on Tuesday, but it didn't get much better for the Democrats as it went into Wednesday. We'll take the clip of the day for Wednesday, and that was when Pam Bondi had this exchange with pencil neck Adam Schiff.
Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
and
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as well
will you
as
be
the
able to
ongoing
review
investigation.
hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am asked to look at.
Of course you won't. So will you advise the president?
Can I answer the question?
Well, my question
I would
is,
have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
You'll be able to review
Listen,
hundreds
I'm
of
not going to
cases on the first day?
mislead this body nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me answer
You were
another question.
censured by Congress, Senator, for comments just like this that are so reckless.
Pencil neck Adam Schiff being the idiot of the day on Wednesday, Garrett. It's unbelievable. And what they were talking about was the pardons of the J6ers. You and I, in just a little bit, we're going to be talking about pardons. All right. But I want to get your thoughts first as we get into it and stop talking here and give you the floor on your thoughts as we now enter into day 3 of the Senate confirmations on President Trump's cabinet nominees.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I do miss Lou. The last time we spoke was in June of 24. And turning to Pete Hegseth, I would grade his performance an A. Yeah. I don't think it could be much better than what he did. I mean, obviously dealing with a lot of Karens with Pocahontas and Hirono and all these other people. I mean, these are insufferable hags, and he did what he could. I was very pleased with him staying strong about women in combat. I'm very passionate about that. We're not saying women can't do paperwork jobs in the military, but only non-serious countries believe that there are no differences between men and women at a muscle mass level. I mean, It'd be like, having just even thinking about my wife carrying an M16 is laughable, right? So I'm very glad that he stayed firm on that. With Schiff, I mean, he's sort of a demonic rodent-like figure, and I think Bondi did the best she could. Although, if I'm grading the ones that have occurred so far, I think Hegseth gets in 52 to 48, just considering how corrupt the U.S. Senate is. But, I'm looking forward also to Kash Patel's confirmation hearing, because Schiff and everybody else were very, very worked up and asking Bondi about Kash Patel when they're going to get their shot at him. And I don't think I think Bondi is more reserved. She's sort of an establishment figure in American politics and in Floridian politics. Sorry, that's my boy. And I think that Kash Patel will be less reserved, and basically, I talk to Schiff like you and I would, which is this is not a person who deserves respect or deference or anything like that.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned you got your son over there. So, people, this is an authentic show. You see, we don't cut anything out here. What the guests say.
I told him we had an interview at 5.
He didn't get the memo. It's all right. We'll give him a pass this time. He's probably and I was just going to say he's probably got a higher IQ than Adam Schiff. It's funny. Before the show, we were talking about triple-digit and double-digit IQs. The saddest part about it is most of those Democrats, some of the Rhino Republicans too, on that dais of people questioning these folks, don't even hold triple-digit IQs themselves. They get questions from staffs like Pocahontas. I mean, asking that question about generals was probably a question she was reading. You and I worked in D.C. A lot of times you do prep work for your boss and you give it to them. Most of the time, your boss is smart enough to read it beforehand to understand the line of questioning and where a rebuttal can come. It's clear that they didn't. It's truly troubling to me how this moves forward.
Yes.
You mentioned Kash Patel. He's one of the ones that I really do look forward to, because I know Kash personally. I'm sure you've known him or met him a few times.
Yes.
He's a man of his word, I believe. When it comes to cleaning up the FBI, like I said, in a few minutes, we're going to talk about pardons and everything that had to do with Hunter Biden, folks. Garrett, he's the founder of Marco Polo 501c3. It's the organization that put out a rather lengthy report on the Hunter Biden laptop. For those of you who are joining us on video right here, you can see the thickness. Go ahead and hold it on the side.
644 pages.
So that was authored by Garrett Ziegler himself, every single one of those pages. So he knows the Hunter Bidens and the Biden family perhaps better than anybody. But I do want to get to Kash Patel before we get into that. Kash has promised, before he was even given the opportunity to be the nominee for the FBI, that he wants to clean this thing up. He wants to drain it. He wants the building out of D.C. That new building that they've funded hundreds of millions of dollars for, he wants it gone out of D.C. Do you think it's possible to get the politicization out of the FBI and to get these folks back to doing the job that 20 years ago they were doing?
So a couple of key points. Number one, you said the new building, it's a complete monstrosity. It'll be around $1 billion for the entire structure, and it's in Greenbelt, Maryland. It will create a new ecosystem of grifting up there. That county will become probably the top earning county in the country. It has to cease. We cannot go through with that. I don't care what ground they've broken or anything. I don't think that writ large you can get this politicization out of the FBI. I think that you can hope to tame it a little bit, but I am of the firm belief that it's not just a 7th floor problem.
Yes.
It is a field office issue. It's like a cancer that has spread to the very end of the appendages. And so it's not just a surgery that's going to require, fine tuning around the edges or just one scalpel. If it were a 7th floor problem entirely and just the leadership, I would feel pretty good about keeping the FBI. But that memo that was authored in 2022 out of Richmond about Catholics, about trying to find confidential human sources within individual Catholic parishes, that was a field office creation.
Yep.
So it's these individual field offices that have mental health days and equity days. This is a cancer that is so far gone that Kash Patel should be thinking about how the Congress decommissions the FBI. And I have a plan, by the way, this is bold, but we have a plan. One of my obsessions with Peter was taming the bureaucracy. We fought Treasury and CBP so much that we could give half of the budget to the U.S. Marshals and half of the FBI's budget to the individual state police forces. And anything federal can be done by the Marshals. They're the only law enforcement entity even listed in the Constitution. They've been around since 1789. Of the corrupt institutions in D.C. in the country, it's at the lower fifth of the list. Meaning there are bad actors in the Marshal Service, but it doesn't even compare to the FBI. So my answer is a long-winded one in that we know what to do, and we can imagine an America without the FBI. Bureaucracies have been disbanded before. There's no reason why the FBI should be presumed to be, in effect, ad infinitum. We can do this by 2028.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know what? You just brought up a great point. I knew I was going to like you when I started talking to you before the interview, but you had mentioned something that I mentioned to everybody I bring on this show to talk about the FBI, and I've mentioned it to former FBI agents, special agents who come on this broadcast. The rot is not only on the 7th floor, and I use this analogy, Garrett. If there's a dead fish or a dead rat or a dead skunk on the 7th floor of any building, it's going to seep down to the 6th floor, it's going to seep down to the 5th floor, it's going to seep down to the 4th floor. It's going to go to the 8th floor, it's going to go to the 9th floor, and it's going to go to the 10th floor. At some point, it'll stop. And at that point, it will, stop smelling. And at that point, it's probably your lowest level rank FBI officials, not special agents. I guess lowest is just an FBI agent, right?
Yeah.
So they obviously don't know what James Comey or Robert Mueller or Christopher Wray's cooking up on the 7th floor, but the guys on the 6th floor and the 5th floor doing it trickles down. What puzzles me is you often hear people say the rank and file guys, they're not the problem. They're not the problem. Well, the rank and file guys, I hate to break it to you folks, and this is what we're going to turn to next, worked on Hunter Biden's file. They worked on these Catholic school cases. They worked on domestic terrorist parents cases. So you want to sit here and tell me the rank and file folks, they're the good guys. They don't mean any harm. They just go to work and they get their 6-figure salary, and after 20 years, they're going to get their 6-figure pension, and they go to work on time, and they get their overtime, and they lie about overtime, so the FBI gets a bigger budget, and you're telling me these are all good guys. Now, don't get me wrong, Garrett. There are good people there. There's good people everywhere, right? But for the most part, these folks in D.C. are all bad apples. So
I couldn't agree more. The good folks are a very, very small minority, because every day, by virtue of not having dozens of whistleblowers over the past 4 years, if those people were good folks, they couldn't have been at work during Biden's regime without blowing the whistle. It was so bad. And every day they decided to stay quiet, just like people say, we should avoid political discussions. That is totally ridiculous, because every political decision is a moral decision.
Yeah.
So therefore, every time somebody decides to stay silent, they are choosing the security of their pension and the gibs that they've been given from the federal teat over telling the truth. And that is what we have 94 U.S. attorneys, 94 different judicial districts in the country. We have 92 FBI field offices, 92. Yep. Even if Kash were to clean up 40 of them, which is a big task, that's still more than half are totally gone. I mean, think about the value of diversity. Since Obama, every FBI field office, because this wasn't touched in the first term, has stated that diversity is a core value of the FBI. That propaganda, that level of cancer has spread so thoroughly throughout the organism that if you try to get rid of that, which is just, right? I don't believe in diversity. You don't believe in diversity. Diversity is not a goal. Right. It should be unity. I don't think there's any long-term reform. Yeah. And so I'm going to be pushing I only met Kash a couple times. I was on the White House slow pitch softball team with him. He was competitive even in that, hilariously. But so he knows me, and he knows I worked for Peter principally. And I think that if come June, he's talking about, if he's using the phrases, what do we want the FBI to look like at 2040? We will have failed, because I don't want the FBI to be in existence in 2040.
Right.
It's gone.
Right.
And sometimes there's some nostalgia for some form of a G-man who's honorable and untouchable. But those people who are attracted to that, they can join the U.S. Marshals.
Right.
And I think that man-made institutions on this side of heaven can become a cancer, and they have to be done away with.
Yeah, there's some things you need to be at 40,000 feet on. There's some things you need to be at 30,000, 20,000. This is, as you say, it's a granular issue that needs to be at ground level. You had mentioned every decision is a political decision, and you couldn't be more right about that. You vote Republican because you're pro-choice. You like low taxes. Pro-life, low taxes, government out of your life, and you vote a Democrat when you want chaos and high taxes and high inflation. It doesn't get much simpler than that. I want to take a quick break here. We're talking with Garrett Ziegler. He's the founder of Marco Polo, the 501c3, that authored a rather large book, over 600 pages, the report on Hunter Biden. When we return, Garrett, I want to take up more FBI corruption and the role that they played in covering up for the Biden crime family. How many people knew what they knew, and at what point did they know? We're going to take this all up when we return with Garrett. Stay with us, folks.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
All right, folks, we're back. We're talking with Garrett Ziegler, and he, like I said, he's the founder of the 501c3 charity, Marco Polo. They have this amazing report, the report on the Biden laptop. Like I said, over 600 pages. Garrett knows everything that went on with the Biden crime family, and that's what I want to turn to next, Garrett. What role did the FBI play? What did they know? At what point did they know? And how much did they cover up when it came to any aspect of crime by Hunter, by Joe, by Jim, by Ashley, by any of these Biden criminals?
They played a central role. In fact, probably the biggest role besides the IRS. They first became aware of this officially in mid-2018, although they were tracking Hunter since about 2013. But the investigation in earnest started in 2018, and they received via grand jury subpoena a copy of his laptop on December 9th of 2019. We have compiled, and it's the only place in the world where you can get it, a directory of every FBI agent involved in the Biden investigation. It's on our website, marcopolo501c3.org. We've created 4 directories, actually, one for the DOJ main justice, one for the FBI, one for the IRS, and one for the District of Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office. And so there are about 35 agents who are involved in this, John. And just like you said, only a couple of them are in leadership. It's these lower level folks who have enormous power, who still are, able to make arrests, file affidavits in federal court for search warrants. And all of these people, by either commission or omission, chose to slow walk, obstruct, and sit on their hands. And what did they cover up and slow walk? Clear felonies: Foreign Agent Registration Act, sex trafficking, money laundering, drug trafficking. Hunter, by the way, not only bought drugs, but he sold them to other people. The same kind of conduct that his dad instituted mandatory minimums for, 5 years. We found a video from 1991 on C-SPAN. It's now went viral. We found it and put a side-by-side together of Hunter Biden smoking crack and receiving a foot job next to his daddy on the Senate floor in 1991 saying, if you have a quarter of crack cocaine, you get 5 years in prison. Judge doesn't have a choice. That's a direct quote from Joe. So you not only have the sentencing disparity, but you also have, his son doing the exact thing that would require the tougher sentencing disparity. So the FBI knew about this from the earliest, officially is 2018. That's what we have paper for. But all throughout, I mean, we list every single person that has come out through principally the IRS whistleblower disclosures. And then in the criminal cases against Hunter, they called a couple IRS people to testify. And I was at that trial. In fact, I think what got Lou's attention was Hunter's wife lost her mind and called me a Nazi outside of the courtroom. And I told her, anybody can observe judicial proceedings in America. She's from South Africa, so she may not know that, even though she got citizenship via Hunter. She was sort of an anchor marriage situation too. But the FBI is absolutely critical to this. I think that, let's put it this way. There's only one whistleblower who's come forward from the FBI, Joe Gordon, and he was on his way out. Right. He only blew the whistle after he had his 20 years in. Right. Gary Shapley and Joe Ziegler, on the other hand, the IRS agents, and Ziegler's not related to me in any way, they both blew the whistle before they got their pension. So the only two honorable folks in this are on the IRS side. There's nothing that the FBI as an entity has done to bring justice to this situation. Not a single one of them. And when cash gets in, assuming he will, I think it'll be 51-49 or something. Maybe JD will have to break a tie. And I've already sent him the directory. All of those people have to go. And if they cannot go quickly, they have to be reassigned to writing, thank you letters in a corner office in Greenbelt, Maryland. They cannot work on any substantive policy issues.
I don't even think that's acceptable. I have a friend who I often have on the show. You probably don't know him, but he's a man named Russ Tice. And he's one of the people who blew one of the first people before Edward Snowden who blew the whistle on the Patriot Act. And came out, blew a whistle. He's a former senior NSA intel analyst. Our audience knows him very well. We have him on here quite a bit. Just a fascinating fella, Air Force veteran, worked through the different ranks of the NSA.
I'll look him up.
Yeah, you got to look into Russ Tice. Anyway, he blows the whistle on the Patriot Act, and he tries to get it through the proper levels. He goes to the government first. The NSA, of course, finds out he goes to the government. So what do you do after you go to the government and you can't, get through them? You have to go to the media. So he went to the media, and they put him on a car wash duty as a senior and a senior intel analyst for the NSA. They get him on car wash duty, and actually, I correct myself. This was before he went to the media. So he goes, tries to go through the ranks. Then one day he says it's snowing down there, and they have him cleaning snow off the cars. And he goes, "That was when I blew it, and I couldn't take it anymore." And that's when he went to the media. It takes a special person to come out with testicular fortitude if you're a man, or gut if you're a woman, or both, to come out and risk it all for something. I was at Fox News for many years with Lou, and I worked for Lou. And then after Lou was cowardly canceled by a bunch of cowards, I wound up working for Larry Kudlow. And I had a conscience. I couldn't work for this man who on his first day came in and said to the staff, "We're not going to go on TV and put out what Donald Trump wants us to put on TV." Says that to the staff in a meeting. And I said, okay, that's fine if that's what you believe after just working for the man for 4 years. But then to go out there that night and get on your knees for the guy, and I'm saying to myself, hold on, that doesn't make much sense. You just came here and preached to us all that you're not going to do this for this man. And I sat there and I was unable to sit in meetings with the man every day. Some of the stuff he was saying was just unbelievable. So I got the hell out of there. And I gave up, working there probably for the rest of my life. I gave up going on air there. I was on air there. So, it's the risk that you have to take. Shapley and Ziegler are the same thing. These folks have it. They gave up a pension. They gave up their lives, and their lives are ruined. When you become a whistleblower, you may be a savior to some, but your life is over. You're never getting a job again. In some cases, you're losing your pension because whistleblower protections is a bunch of BS. There's no such thing as whistleblower protection. You're blackballed from every industry in this country. You're blackballed from every job. You probably can't even get a job at McDonald's. That's how bad you're treated in this country.
That's what goes to show how ridiculous Ciramella's whistleblowing was.
Goodness.
Because all these other people are saying Shapley's name all the time. They're saying Ziegler's name all the time. But Ciramella was Voldemort. We couldn't even talk about him. And now he's employed at the Belfer Center at Harvard. So that just goes to show that it was never about his was just trying to launder it through the Vindman brothers and other things. There was no real whistleblowing claim there by Ciramella. And, that has a Biden connection. He was Biden's key Ukrainian advisor when Hunter was on the board of Burisma. Eric Ciramella was. I agree with you entirely, though. You have to have people you have to have insiders come forth, or it's very, very, very hard to know to end up knowing what happened. That's why we can put together this directory. And under each person's name, we included a hyperlink to the testimony by the IRS whistleblowers about how we know this person has been outed, because DOJ investigated us criminally for doxing. And one of the things our attorneys wrote to them is that in this directory, we included the link to the already public document showing that they were involved. So there was no doxing involved. We found it on congress.gov, just like every other person who is a digger, right? I mean, we're basically a PI group. The PI in North Carolina is the vice chairman of our board, and a lawyer is too. We're any good investigator would find the stuff that we did, and they accused us of doxing. The fact of the matter is that they put up the doxing defense because they don't want to be held accountable. These FBI feds, these lower level and middle level people, they don't want anybody to know their name, because that is the first step to accountability.
When the name Eric Ciramella came out, I remember we had gotten a message, an email, probably in some document somewhere that was not FOIA'd, but demanded from a lawsuit, one of the many lawsuits Fox is involved in right now. And we were not to mention the name Eric Ciramella. So I'll never forget
that came from Fox.
Yeah, there was a Fox News internal email somewhere. Listen, you're the investigator here. If anyone can find it, it's you.
Do you have the email?
I can go back and look. They obviously canceled my email. They took my email as soon as I left because they knew I was up to no good. But there was an email sent out, and there was another email that you're going to get a kick out of this. But so there was an email sent out, don't mention Eric Ciramella. So I see this email, and I'm like, oh, no. We got to make sure Lou doesn't find out who this guy Eric Ciramella is, because if he sees that we're not allowed to mention his name, Lou's going to go on air that night, and he's going to say, Eric Ciramella is the whistleblower. So I remember, we put that in another group because Lou didn't care. Lou wanted to get the truth out to the American people. He didn't care. He didn't, which is why he was so cowardly. What do they call it? Canceled. He was canceled. Yeah. And a little tip to anyone who doesn't know this. I don't know if I've ever said it on the show before. I don't know if Lou's ever said it on the show before. Lou didn't know his show was getting canceled. It was leaked to the LA Times. And I had gotten a text message before Lou even got a text message that his show was canceled. Nobody reached out to his agent. Nobody at Fox. Now, this is a man who gave many years, over 10 years, to Fox, the highest rated show on television. They claim that advertisers were pulling out, which is total nonsense, because Lou had numbers. And if you want to fact check me on this, you can go pull the ratings that was beating CNN at the time on Fox Business. His ratings were absolutely through the roof in the millions, and never gave him a reason why they canceled the show. But there are some documents, and this is another task here if you want to have some fun. There are some documents that we were privy to in depositions that led us into why Lou was canceled. And what I'll say is the Murdoch family did not really like Lou, and they didn't like the fact that they couldn't control him, which is why you saw just about a year later, Garrett, Tucker Carlson. And I will never forget, I have a text message in my phone saying to Lou Dobbs, they will never fire Tucker Carlson. And Lou said to me, you wait and see. And this was about a year before Tucker was fired. When that happened, when we saw this news, I said, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to tell Lou he was right, because I often had to tell Lou and confess that he was right. But getting back to the whistleblowers and back to some more Fox News stuff, Alexander Vindman came out. He was a man who saved Ukraine. He came out and blew the whistle. And this man was paraded as a hero. He actually got a cameo on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know if you watched the show. Great show. Larry David was a Marxist leftist, but a great show. Got a cameo on there. And is paraded as this hero, as a good person. He's a good person for
Disgusting.
blowing the whistle on Trump being corrupt with Ukraine when it was really Hunter Biden who was corrupt. Is that
Precisely.
right?
And Trump didn't know this. He should have, but he didn't. That the FBI and the IRS already had an active investigation into the exact matter that he asked Zelensky to look into. And by the way, the chief law enforcement officer of the United States, as you know, is not the attorney general. It's the president. He's the one that swears that under his presidency, the laws will be faithfully executed. So he had every right to ask them to look into this. And so there was already an active investigation. So this idea that Trump was doing something improper by asking his counterpart to look into this is preposterous. And I'm going to keep saying Ciaramella's name. And I think that if anybody, not Liz Cheney, Benny Thompson, they obviously committed felonies, but it should be Ciaramella who's leaving the country, because I'm not going to forget about that guy. And this is like the first time where we can really go after him. And by going after him, I mean, there's got to be some false statement charge or some other mechanism to hold him accountable. What he did was he helped ruin the first Trump term. Yeah, and he did a damn good job at it. President Trump would have been so much more prosperous and done a better. It's hard to imagine he could do a better job than the job he did with. But he couldn't have done it without people like you and people without Peter Navarro and some of the few loyalists who stay with him. Stephen Miller. There was only a few good men. I'm so grateful that Peter's going to be in the same position again. That's an answer to prayer. Just hoping that we get a better Treasury Secretary. We'll see. I'm not going to be too. I don't know Scott Bessent, right? So I'll just wait and see. I'm going to take a couple weeks, and I try not to be too pessimistic. I know that Mnuchin was terrible, so it'll be hard to be worse than Mnuchin. Mnuchin fought Peter on tariffs, everything, and Kudlow same way. So we'll see, and hopefully, if some of these people are bad, the president will fire them more quickly than he did in the first term. Yeah. Mnuchin was out for himself and only himself. Larry Kudlow was out for himself and only himself. You want to see a good man, you go look at Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro, I mean, went through hell and back for President Trump. And you know what? He's back there knowing what's at stake. They got the guy in leg shackles, went to prison. I saw Peter before he went to prison in March of last year. And, you know, I've known him for a while. And to see Peter, like, defeated, it was so disheartening for me because I know the man he is. You know the man he is. Peter's the kind of guy, like, if you bark at him on the side of the street, he's not going to keep walking. Peter's going to turn around and put some fists up because he's not a little. I won't even curse. I'm trying not to curse. Yeah, he's but the real deal, right? And there's not many like him. Not many like him at all. And going back to the FBI real quick, the gentleman responsible for that fiasco at Reagan International Airport, or Reagan National, Walter Giordano. That's the FBI agent I got my sights on. And he has to be fired day one. He cannot continue to work in the federal government. So let me ask you before we go to a quick break here. And on the other side of the break, I want to take up, there's so much to take up. I want to go into the J6 committee. I want to go into, get your thoughts on David Weiss's final report on the Hunter Biden investigation. And I want to go and tell you that second story I promised you about Fox News regards to 10% for the big guy. But I want to go a little bit further into that if we can. Let's take a quick break here. We're coming back because I want to spend some time on that. I don't want to be cut up against a break here. So we're coming back with Garrett Ziegler, folks. Stay with us. He is the founder of the Marco Polo Group. Follow them on Twitter. What's your website, Garrett? MarcoPolo501c3.org. We encourage you to go there, folks. You can get your very own copy on the report on the Biden laptop. We recommend it, as a gift for maybe one of your Marxist friends. Or if you want to do some light reading, there's 600 pages. You can read a page a day, 2 pages a day, whatever you want. I've read it online. It's absolutely remarkable. Yeah, and the e-reader's online for free, which we're very proud of. What's better than free? Now, we encourage you to go out and buy the copy, but you know what? If you're so inclined, the free version is available as well. We're coming right back with Garrett, folks. Stay with us.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free.
From all of us here at MyPillow,
thanks, America! Folks, we're back with Garrett Ziegler. As I said, he's the founder of Marco Polo, the 501c3. We recommend all of his work to you highly. He does an absolutely terrific job. You can follow him on Twitter or head to his website. Garrett, I want to turn back to something we were talking about before we went to break. You had mentioned a bunch, and I had actually never even thought of this until you brought it up. And it's something so small and so dumb that I can't believe I didn't think of it. You're probably just smarter than me. Can we track down those FBI agents? Can we get a list together of those FBI agents who, one, hid all of the Hunter Biden corruption, the Joe Biden corruption, the Jim Biden corruption, and the FBI agents who went after those school board parents, who went after Peter Navarro in leg shackles, who went after Steve Bannon to get him off of a boat to bring him in because he's such a dangerous criminal, and the rest of these folks they went after? Can we get a list of these people and bring them into Congress, bring them into somewhere, sit these people down in a chair and figure out what was going through their mind, who told them to do what, and what played out?
We absolutely can. We have the list for one of those groups already. We don't have it for the Catholic trackers, I'll call them, the FBI Catholic parish trackers. It's very simple. Once Kash Patel takes power, you have to tell the General Counsel's Office at the FBI to stand down, that these people can talk to Congress. Because right now, at a practical level, because I'm a nerd, this is what's going to happen. The FBI can subpoena these folks after they get their names. By the way you get their names is very simple. You, as the FBI director, open up the case file. You have complete carte blanche authority to open up any investigative file. That means, for example, the Epstein files. That could be out January 22nd if there is desire for it. Once you open up that file, the Congress can ask for it. You give it to Congress. Then, inevitably, when they subpoena the individual agents will go to the General Counsel's Office and say, hey, look, this is about sources and methods, and I can't testify. And then you tell your General Counsel, no, as the FBI director, I determine that it's in the public interest that this information be out there. And then you subpoena them for both documents and testimony. So it is possible. The only thing that's stopping it, and this has occurred in both sides, is cowardice. Cowardice. Just like David Weiss's report that was released on Monday, 27 pages. A 10th grader could have wrote it.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
When Weiss was interviewed by Congress last fall, in I think it was November of 2023, he said, "Oh, those issues that you're asking about, I'll be able to get into them in my report, which I released to Congress, which every special counsel has to do." Well, he punted on the report. The report is pathetic. I mean, the most he could muster up was that Hunter Biden made money off his last name. Well, again, anybody with a pulse can tell you that. David Weiss, on the other hand, unlike anybody with a pulse in America, has subpoena power. He can write something to a federal judge and make a company give him the documents, from Google to other third-party service providers. So it's total cowardice. I was very disappointed in Chuck Grassley's statement yesterday that right at this juncture, he doesn't think that Weiss is going to testify. Well, if the Senate is going to punt like Weiss did, the House has got to pick up the slack. David Weiss has to come in for public questioning, in part because he didn't do anything in the report. If he wanted to avoid a public questioning like Robert Hur did, he should have made the report legitimate. He tried to include 210 pages of appendices. Right. So his appendix was 210 pages and the actual writing was 27. Now, the funny thing is, every document in the appendix was already released in the two public dockets with Hunter Biden and Alexander Smirnov, the confidential human source for the FBI. Right. So we already knew the context of the appendix. It's like he doesn't even respect us, because if David Weiss respected our intelligence, even if he was lazy and cowardly, he would have at least thrown us a couple bones, a couple of investigative files in the appendix. He didn't even do that. It's a comedy. So this has to be rectified. David Weiss had the opportunity of a century. Joe Biden ran the largest RICO operation in the history of the U.S. Senate, 50 years, including the presidency. He ran the state of Delaware. David Weiss, and he doesn't believe in God, so I'll say through the gods, in David Weiss's mind, the gods parted the heavens and gave him a gift, a carte blanche special counsel investigation of Hunter Biden, and he totally punts. Yeah. He's what C.S. Lewis would call a man without a chest. This is a guy with the opportunity to effectuate justice and totally urinated it away. Totally. And he deserves to be asked all the questions that he punted on in the public hearing, the closed door testimony in November 2023. And then all of the other charges that he said were not warranted being discussed because of the pardon, all of that's got to be on the table for the public testimony. I want a 7-hour hearing, 5 minutes for each congressman, probably be in the House now, to ask questions. And of course, during this entire Biden investigation, which I was underwhelmed with, we were feeding questions to the representatives and their staff all the time. A couple of them made it in. We got our book entered into the congressional record last month. That was sort of a bookend to this saga that I really wanted done. And our trial with Hunter is set for September of this year. He's suing us in California in federal court. It's completely ridiculous. But the corrupt federal judge on the case was appointed by his daddy.
No.
And we tried to get him to recuse himself, like Trump did with Juan Merchan. And he's refusing to recuse himself. So we have a trial with Hunter, and we get to depose him next month.
Oh, boy, I hope you get to ask some questions. I want to read a quick statement from James Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee on the Weiss report. Quote, Special Counsel David Weiss just released an incomplete 27-page report because Joe Biden issued his son an unprecedented pardon. This sweeping pardon prevents the special counsel from holding Hunter accountable for the international influence peddling racket only made possible by Joe Biden. Let's be clear, the Biden DOJ was never going to prosecute the Biden crime family. The House Oversight Committee's investigation of the Biden influence peddling scheme revealed how Joe Biden knew about, participated in, and benefited from his family cashing in on the Biden name. Two brave whistleblowers, Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, blew the whistle on the DOJ's misconduct and politicization in the Hunter Biden criminal investigation and revealed that they were prevented from following the evidence so they could lead us to Joe Biden. Joe Biden will be remembered for using his last few weeks in office to shield his son from the law and protect himself. The president's legacy is the same as his family's business dealings, corrupt. That's a nice statement from...
It is a pretty good statement.
Comer, but let me ask you something. You had mentioned you want to see David Weiss go forward before Congress. What does that ultimately get us in the end? Because Hunter Biden's now pardoned from everything, right? There's no way he can ever be held responsible for anything. Is that correct?
At the federal level, yes. It'll get us a couple of things. It'll get us truth and a little bit of closure. But even more important than that, well, equally important to the truth, is that Hunter still has legal exposure at the state and local level. The left did this with Trump in Manhattan, although with Hunter's cases, they would be legitimate. Particularly, money laundering offenses in Arkansas are still within the statute of limitations. Hunter's financial advisor lived in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Hunter met him during the Clinton administration. His name is Edward Pruitt. He lives in Fayetteville. Every single wire that Hunter received through Wells Fargo, Arkansas has jurisdiction over that wire. And some of those money laundering offenses have 5 or 6 year statute of limitations. And so there is still an opportunity for local and state prosecutors to grow a backbone. Are we expecting it? No. But the Weiss testimony would at least provide us more clarity on what they were investigating and what they had access to that we didn't. So yes, we have his laptop, and that is a treasure trove of incriminating material, but we don't have subpoena power. So it would be revelatory. It would provide us with some more truth and hopefully some more ammunition for the state and local prosecutors to grow a backbone. Because at the federal level, as you said, for those 10 years and 11 months, he's totally covered. It's despicable, but it's constitutional.
It's funny you mentioned Arkansas. For those of you who are the younger audience or the older audience, it's where the Clintons got their start. You know, they built that empire in Arkansas, and there's a lot of good stories about how they did it and people who went missing and ended up in ditches, places. Now, I'm not saying the Clintons had anything to do with that, but you know, it just happened at the time of construction.
Yeah, a lot of people who knew somebody who knew the Clintons have ended up dead. It's just weird. Which
brings me to my next question: Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I'm not saying the Clintons had anything to do with him, but Bill Clinton was, I think, a very good friend of him. He actually commissioned a painting of Bill Clinton in a nice blue dress with high heels on, sitting over a love seat. So,
by the way, President Trump has absolute authority to decorate the White House as he sees fit.
Oh no!
I would urge him. He could buy that for $40,000. By the way, the artist who did it did an interview I think in 2015 with ArtNet. She said that he bought it for like $12,000. So even if it's appreciated tremendously, I think that should be the one in the White House for Bill Clinton.
Oh my goodness, that would be amazing. And you know what? If there was one person to do it, it'd be Trump.
That would be one of the greatest trolls of all time. Usually, I'm not a stick in the mud, but my wife always gets on to me because I don't laugh at her jokes, and I tell her by nature women aren't funny. But I laugh at some of them. But that would be epic. That would be absolutely epic. That if he got the one that hung in Epstein's lair, as I call it, the lair in Manhattan. But we do have an opportunity with the FBI, with the Epstein case file. There's nothing stopping us. Trump promised in term 1 to release the JFK files. That's got to be a January 28th project of this year. There's no reason why that stuff was withheld. And Biden punted on it too. Talk about punting. That could be a theme of this interview. David Weiss punted. All these FBI agents, low level and high level, they punted. Seems like so many people are punting. They have an opportunity to do something epic, to do something just that's lasting, that would make the founders proud of them, and they punt. And we cannot have that.
I think it's a problem of the right too, Garrett. So many of these Democrats, they want to be warriors. They want to be saviors of the day. And you've got Republicans who just, it's sad. And it's crazy too, because the Democrats are the party of DEI and transgenders and men becoming women. Yet you have these Republicans without backbones who run with their tail between their leg, piss scared when someone comes out, and does something, and they run. They look the other way. I don't want any part of it. It's like, what's wrong with you? Grow a damn backbone. I want to get to something back to the Hunter Biden thing before we spoke about before last thing. So back when I was at Fox, we had gotten an email, and I want you to confirm this because you know this Hunter Biden laptop better than anybody else. We got this email from a Fox reporter. I forgot who sent it out, but just a news guy sent out the report that 10% for the big guy, maybe for Joe Biden. Jackie Heinrich, who I think is now the chief White House correspondent or something like that, or congressional correspondent. Ducey might be at the White House. So whatever, congressional.
She is, yeah. She just posted something about KJP's last briefing.
So she's been promoted. She was promoted at Fox News, right?
Yes.
She sends out an email now. This is back. When did the 10% for the big guy come out? Was that 2019?
That was 2020, October 14th, 2020.
Okay. So October 14th, 2020, she sends out this email. I have read through my sources. I can confirm that 10% was not for the big guy. Oh, you know what it was? It was when Tony Bobolinsky came out. When Tony Bobolinsky came out with that BlackBerry and that press conference, she sends out this email and says, I can confirm 10% for the big guy is not Joe Biden. So I replied back to this email. Now, I'm a low-level staffer at Fox News at this point, but I said, BS, I'm not letting her send out this company-wide email when she's putting out fake news. This is Fox News. We're Republican, right? We want to get the truth out. So I reply all back to this email, and I say, that's not true. Here's Tony Bobolinsky saying this, 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 and this. Here's his sources. Where did you get your sources that you've come up with that 10% was not for the big guy? And I posted this conversation with Jackie Heinrich on my Twitter. She comes back with some BS response, but very nice. Like if she believed in what she said, she would come back and be aggressive. It was very nicely worded. Now I'm just a low-level staffer there. Now, the next day comes, she lets this whole thing die out. Now, I don't know how to tell Lou that I just started a war with Jackie Heinrich. So I go in and I say, Lou, I got to tell you something, man. And I tell him this whole story, and Lou starts pissing his pants, and he goes, man, you are something else. Good for you. But that's what it was at Fox. It was always people who were trying to, and then Lou went home and told his wife, and his wife texted me and said, you're crazier than hell. But that's what I didn't care about losing my job, because if I was challenging what the truth was, go ahead and fire me. You can take your whatever the heck I was making then. It was nothing. Take your money. I'll go find a job elsewhere where I can represent the truth. And I knew Lou had my back because Lou only cared about one thing. Or three things: truth, justice, and the American way, which is the mantra of the show. But that's what Fox is. They did everything they could.
Precisely. Meaning, I accept that personalities differ. People may not like my personality or the way I talk or the way I look or something else. But the only thing we should be concerned with for all of us in the media, everybody doing investigations, is what I'm saying true. And the Lord knows we're all sinners. If we say something that's not true, we immediately apologize, right? But that should be the only barometer, And I'm disgusted when it's not for people. And we have to, people always say, that's American, or this is, very Americana, like pickup trucks or, the pictures of F-15s flying in Afghanistan. I don't really think that's American. What's American, what's iconically American is just what you said. If I say something that's true that offends you, so be it. And if you fire me, you can go F yourself. That is what's truly unique. American exceptionalism has nothing to do with our economy, although it is good. It's the idea that we're going to put truth above all other considerations. And that's why, personally, the Bidens disgust me so much, is because Hunter is a total Nepo baby who he's done nothing through his own merit. Not a single position has been because he's smart or intellectually superior. It's all this old world nepotistic way, and I hate that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there are people, the whole notion of rich people who are born from things are usually tend to be not as successful as their parents. It's because they have nothing to work for. Everything is usually given to them, and Hunter Biden is the exact example of that. He was given everything his whole entire life, and you know what? Towards the end of his life, he gave back to daddy. Can you confirm for me that 10% for the big guy? Because I hold you in a way higher standard than I do for Jackie Heinrich. Can you confirm?
Totally. And it's covered in 2 separate pages in our report. I even know the exact date of the email. Please. It was May 10th, 2017. The email was written by an English businessman named James Gillier. Tony Bobulinski was on the CC line. So we not only have it from Hunter's laptop, like you said, we have it from Tony. So as an investigator, this is what we call corroboration gold. It's why Ben Schreckinger, probably my favorite liberal in D.C., he writes for Politico, a terrible publication. Yep. But Ben Schreckinger is somebody I respect because what did he do? He smartly FOIA'd the House of Sweden, which is the Swedish embassy, and they have a law that they have to release. They release to Americans public records request. So Ben looked on the laptop of all the emails Hunter had sent to the House of Sweden folks, which is where he had office space. That's why he paid $50,000 a month, because they rented office space in the House of Sweden. And sure enough, the House of Sweden sent back to Ben Schreckinger the exact same emails that were on Hunter's laptop. So we had that independent corroboration, right? So we know 1,000%. Because it's not just Tony Bobulinski, we have it from Hunter's laptop. And by the way, nobody's denied who was in the conversation, James Gillier, Tony Bobulinski, Hunter. Nobody's denied that it was about Joe, right? The only people denying it are Jackie, and she's not in the conversation.
I'm going to find that email, and I'm going to send it to you after this.
I would absolutely love that, because we'll tweet at her on. Yeah, I mean, Marco Polo should quote tweet that original tweet by you and tag her today.
I'll find it and I'll send it to you. Because Garrett, the problem is there's not many people like you and I, and we're not the only.
There isn't.
But there's a few, and we get the word out.
We're anti-careerists, meaning if we make it to the top of American media, that's great. But if we don't, because we're uncompromising, then it wasn't God's will, right? Yeah. God's will is always going to fall on the side of you telling the truth.
Yeah. We were speaking in the commercial break. It's not about how much money you make. It's about, are you happy doing what you do? And are you doing a good job doing what you're doing? And I said to you, I don't care if I die with not a dollar in my name, knowing that I did the right thing in life, that I followed the Lord, and that I followed the right footsteps, and that, I tried my best at being a good person. As you mentioned, we all sin differently. And we're forgiven for our sins if we are truly sorry for them. There's some people who will never be, and it's Hunter Biden because he's a bad man. Joe Biden's a terrible man. He can go to church all he wants. It's not going to change the fact that he's for killing babies, and
it's incredible that he still communed at Joseph on the Brandywine. I live in Central Illinois, and the bishop, I'm not Catholic, but I'm very, very traditional Lutheran, and the bishop in Springfield, Illinois, he's the Bishop Paprika of the Springfield Diocese. Springfield's the capital of Illinois. I live by there. He's one of the few bishops in the United States to even comment on Joe taking the sacrament while being for the butcher of children. I mean, the idea that this Irish Catholic guy, it's disgusting that people still buy this fiction.
Garrett, I can call you James. Garrett, when you have a pope who's like speaking on our immigration laws here in America as he's got a wall around the Vatican. I went on a Vatican tour maybe 6 or 7 years ago in Italy, and they told us they had cures for things like cancer in the Vatican Center. If you're a good Catholic, why are you holding back something like that? But then you've got this man who's coming out talking about transgenders, allowing trannies to dominate the church. I mean, what kind of man is this? And I grew up a Catholic, but I'm absolutely disgusted by the Catholic Church and the things that they've done. I've went to high schools where the monsignors have been accused of fondling children, and I had friends to joke and text me, "Were you one of them?" And I said, "Damn right I wasn't. If I was one of them, that man would have been in a coma somewhere." But what the Catholic Church has become, it's become a money peddling operation. You look at the Catholic charities. You want to have some fun. I'm sure you know better than anybody. You want to have some fun. Go investigate the Catholic charities. You can put out a 1,200-page report on what they're doing down at the southern border and bringing illegals into this country, or the Red Cross, or any of these. But it all ties back to the Catholic Church. And we've got a pope who's leading it, who's corrupt as hell. I don't know what the hell they got on this guy, but he's out here just complete total Marxist, and everybody's okay with it. So,
there's a great picture on Hunter's laptop that we put in our book of Bergoglio and Joe hugging at the Vatican, and Hunter's right there. It's like, I think May of 2016, they all went over there on Air Force Two. It's disgusting. And they're all, Joe is just leaning over and kissing him. I don't know if you saw that picture from last month. No, and he just gave him, Bergoglio is the only one that received a Presidential Medal of Freedom with distinction. The only one.
Wow.
And Joe issued that 2 days ago because he was going to give it to him in Italy, but he canceled his trip because of the Newsom-caused wildfires and probably arson. I mean, it was exacerbated by the water problems caused by Newsom. But I wouldn't be surprised if an illegal started some of these fires, and they just detained somebody. ICE just put out a statement 3 hours ago saying that somebody who's being held for starting a fire wasn't illegal. So the illegals are not only raping and pillaging us and killing, in the case of Lake and Riley, they're literally starting fires.
Yep. Yeah, we're fine with it because, it is what it is. And we got the Pope talking about it. The biggest question, I want to wrap up here because we're running out of time, that I want to know as a Catholic myself is, why did Joseph Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, resign? What did he know? What was his rationale behind resigning? We never know. He said it was about health issues, but he lived a life after that.
He did. I think a decade, right? Was it 2000?
I think he resigned in 2013.
Yeah.
It was 2013 or so. But, continued to live a fine life. He lived, I think, almost 10 years after that, but resigned for health issues that you lived 10 years after. I want to know what that man saw, what that man witnessed that was so bad that forced him to be one of 6 popes to ever resign.
Yeah, when was the last time there was a resignation before him?
I think it was in like 1400s. So you do the math. I think it was in early 1400s. You guys could fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree completely.
What did
And
that man know that was so bad, that was so troubling to him, that forced him to resign inside the Catholic Church? And it only makes me wonder that we've now got this Pope in here. Who's
well, I went to not only a Catholic college, but a Jesuit college. And as obviously you know, Bergoglio is the first Jesuit Pope.
Yeah.
And I think probably the homosexual situation in the seminaries has gotten even worse since he took power. This has been a key problem for decades now.
Yep.
And it's a problem, again, because they act on these feelings of same-sex attraction, and it's ruined lives.
Yep.
So that is a huge deal.
Yep.
And
it's probably not popular for me to say this as a Catholic, and the Catholics may get offended by this, but with this new Pope doing all he can to undermine regular traditional marriage and promote same-sex marriage and all that good stuff, why not look at some sort of amendment in the Catholic Church and allow priests to get married? If you're okay with allowing these priests to go out and do things with boys, with young boys, not just homosexuality, but underage molestation, if you're allowing this, why not look towards allowing these priests to maybe get married and try to settle the issue that way, and try to narrow down why this is so popular inside the Catholic Church? You don't see this happening in the Christian church as bad as you're seeing it with pastors than with priests.
Yeah, and it goes to the core of it, and about tradition for the sake of tradition, and knowing that obviously Peter was married, right? And so knowing that other apostles that Protestants hold in high regard were married as well, maybe it will cause other people to rethink that. Yeah. But I have very right-wing friends that vociferously oppose this idea.
Yeah.
But something is not working
to stop it, right?
Well, something's not working. Either the people at the seminaries themselves are homosexuals, and it's like it's a self-selection problem. Like they feel comfortable there, and so it's like, but it's a cancer. And going back to Joe's, I think his relationship with the Chinese has been terrible, yes. And thank God he only got one term. Right. But I think in 40 years, the worst thing Joe will have ever done is the invasion through the southern border. Yep. And that is directly related to his love of Bergoglio and everything that Bergoglio has done that's been terrible. He's been worse. Of all the things he's bad at, I think the worst one is the invasion. And so in a way it is relevant, because if Joe did everything else poorly, the spending, inflation, everything else, but we didn't have the 12 million plus people come in illegally, I think it'd be much easier to get out of. Yeah. But even if Trump deports 6 million, there's still going to be many, many more millions that have to go. And that's going to be Joe's legacy.
And you're using that 12 million number. That's the government telling
exactly.
you.
I'm using
you and I both know it's over 20 million people, maybe 30 million. Who the heck knows what the number is? But it's if the government's telling you a number, it's like the jobs numbers, Garrett. You worked for Peter Navarro, so you know
they're cooked.
They come out with one number. They'll say 300,000, 360,000, and then the next month it gets revised down to 60,000. Well, it was just an estimate. Well, how do you make an estimate by a factor of like 5-6 times? It's just the way the government does business. Yeah. But wrapping up with the southern border and how it ties into what we were just talking about, the churches, the Catholic Church has enabled all of it. The Catholic charities, folks, if you donate to the Catholic charity, stop. If you donate to the Red Cross, stop. You got to go online and you got to research these organizations, not only the work they're doing, but how much of the money they actually give out. Now, I invite you all to go ahead and check that out yourself. I don't want to be talking about organizations I don't know about, but I can tell you for sure the Red Cross and the Catholic charities, the folks at the top of the top are taking a large, large salary, and the Catholic charities are inhibiting this border crisis that Joe Biden has fueled. Garrett Ziegler, like I said, the founder of Marco Polo. You can go to their website, marcopolo501c3.com. You can follow them on Twitter for all their great work. Garrett, get yourself the copy. If you don't want to buy the copy, it's available PDF on there for free, right on their homepage. Very easy to find. We recommend it to you highly, and we recommend you sign up for their mailing list so they can keep you up to date on everything. Garrett, come back soon. We want to know everything about this lawsuit and the Bidens and why they're suing Marco Polo. I mean, it's just why are they suing a 501c3? So
We
come back.
introduced the king's son, or we embarrassed the king's son, and that's a sin to them.
The emperor had no clothes.
I appreciate you having me on tonight. I love the topics. I loved speaking with you. We can do it again.
Well, let's do it again often and soon, Garrett.
Godspeed, John.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us today here on the Great America Show, folks. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Garrett. We're going to try to bring him back here as often as possible to give us an update on his lawsuit and everything government. Any bad folks trying to undermine the Trump administration, all that good stuff. He's got the inside scoop, being a former D.C. Swamp creature like myself. We're no longer, thank God. We've made our way out, but we're going to try to bring him back here often. Folks, we hope you'll join us back here tomorrow for the Great America Show. Same time, same place, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. We'll see you back here tomorrow, folks. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs.